Welcome to the Federal Socialist Republic of Ethanopiana. I am President Charles Oserwanche, and it is my privilege to guide you through the remarkable journey of our great nation.
Ethanopiana is a small island nation between the frozen lands of Chukotka and Alaska, located just above the Aleutian Islands. Its climate is surprisingly warm despite its northern position, most likely due to the Arctic winds being blocked from the island through the small sea that exists between us and Russia. Though currently under authoritarian leadership, Ethanopiana is a social democracy in spirit, seeking to join the ranks of other democracies when we reunite our island from foreign invaders. By doing this, we can work to build a progressive future for our citizens. Now let's start with the regions of Ethanopiana. If you go to our west coast, you may witness the beautiful Yegorov Plains. Because this region was once under the control of the Russian Empire and a Soviet puppet state, there is a lot of Russian cultural influence within these lands. In the middle of our country, one can witness the stark and imposing Chanhayan Mountains, a symbol of indigenous culture and natural beauty. During Imperial Russian occupation, our island's indigenous population fled to these mountains to find a safe haven, and these lands remain proudly under indigenous watch even today. Today, Ethanopiana's east is the most prosperous and technologically advanced region within the nation. Currently, it is the seat of Minority, our capital city. The east has some of the most developed land in the country, contributing to our national pride based on a growing economy and a commitment to progressive values. This contradicts with the Taitan Peninsula and the city of Ostcliff, two Ethanopianan regions under the oppression of colonial Wolkatia. Although Ethanopianan culture is celebrated there, the name has been rechristened with a viceroyal nomenclature, the Southern Corridors. Now let's move to our national iconography and government system. Our flag, the Stars and Stripes, is a respected part of our national identity. Its 9 stripes symbolize the 9 provinces of our country, while the blue in the center symbolizes our unity. The laurel and star combine the symbols of the previous Federalist and Republican factions within our nation, now united as one without loyalty to anyone else. Notice how the Ethanopianan flag is inherently similar to that of America. That is not a coincidence, but a deep and historical loyalty to America for what it promised to be. Our government, while somewhat authoritarian, is so with the intent of eventual reform. Our nation remains disunited and our people remain with only one leader. But over time, the goal of President Charles Oserwanche is to establish a suitable democratic reform. Without such, our nation cannot prosper and will become a mere backwater. However, President Oserwanche is a good enough leader to allow our nation to continue its prosperity without total democratic reform. Just take a look at his most famous quote, which reads,
I would not continue my leadership if you were not confident in my ability.
Let's start with the history of our glorious nation. Ethanopiana's early history was marked by the presence of Inuit peoples in the north and nomadic tribes in the south, believed to be remnants of an ancient civilization. As the region awaited the arrival of Wolkatians, outposts from the kingdom of Govariitia were established, attracting settlers from the south, who struggled to adapt to the harsh climate. Religious practices evolved, with settlers embracing a shamanistic variation of thorax faith known as the Old Faith. In the early 1600s, Wolkatian colonies emerged, attracting diverse populations, including followers of the Old Faith. The Wolkatian presence, however, faced fierce resistance from the 7 tribes of the east, led by the heroic Queen Korea.
Korea, a visionary and powerful leader, united the tribes to resist colonization, challenging the Wolkatian commander Talrin.
Despite her passionate and forceful diplomacy, Korea's efforts were ultimately unsuccessful as Wolkatian reinforcements overpowered the native resistance.
As Wolkatian influence waned, Russian expansion into the region introduced a harsh colonial rule, marked by the suppression of local cultures and the imposition of Orthodox Christianity. Ethanopianan people, suffering under Russian rule, revolted twice, ultimately securing their independence and establishing the minority government. However, internal ethnic tensions led to the government's descent into dictatorship and the fragmentation of Ethanopiana into warlord states. The conflicts among various factions drew external powers like Britain, Wolkatia, and Russia into the fray, leading to a fragile peace. Over time, Ethanopiana fell into a cycle of corrupt dictatorships and liberal revolutions, with British influence growing. During World War I, the United Republic's defeat by Wolkotia sparked a socialist revolution, further dividing the nation into a Stalinist West and a liberal East. The Socialist Republic's brutality led to its isolation, while the Federal Republic in the East, influenced by Canadian immigrants, sought reunification under the leadership of Charles Oserwanche. Following the death of the Stalinist dictator, Oserwanche led the creation of the Federal Socialist Republic, blending both regimes' elements and advocating for the island's complete reunification, with a vision rooted in national pride and progress. Now, let's talk about Ethanopiana's standing in the world today. As of now, the world is engulfed in a cold war between two nations, the British Commonwealth and the Soviet Union. The People's Kingdom of Wolkotia, our nemesis, has a crucial role in maintaining neutrality in this conflict, mediating disputes like it is the world's manager. Their emperor, Frederick, is using the world's division to continue his empire at the expense of the peoples of the world. However, we have our plans in opposing it. However, the People's Kingdom of Wolkotia is not devoid of enemies, most notably the Republic of China. Wolkotia seeks to not only continue, but to spread its empire throughout all of Asia, while the Chinese seek to eliminate Wolkotian colonial rule throughout the continent. Also, Wolkotia has a territorial dispute with Canada wishing to reclaim its rightly purchased territory of British Columbia and Yukon from the Wolkotian extremists who simply cannot accept the superiority of democracy and the simple fact that a fair trade is a fair trade.
As President Charles Oserwanche, I have a simple address for you, my people. Look at the stars at night, see them burn with brightness, and you will see the destiny of glory. Even the sun will explode, though not before devouring the world. Every empire that stands in our way is a star that will try to swallow everything in its path before it explodes. But when that star finally becomes a small and innocuous white dwarf, that is when we know that we've won. All hail Ethanopiana, omnis super una.